Good evening and welcome back to Nose Tools, and I think I've got my volume
Still
set.
not Nose Tools.
Not Nose Tools, thank you. Rhythmgates. I think I've got the volume set marginally high here. Let's turn this down. I'm clearly talking louder than I was last time. Right, that's better. So we've been trying to establish ourselves a new patch of underground, well, not quite garden, park, forest, where we can get some more trees from. And we've been doing this by dropping caves in into the lakes, or rather into the edges of the the big lake down here, in the hope that we can then drain all the water out of it and get at all those lovely trees, and also get some gems for our factories. So we have a nice wall here of solid diorite blocking off that section, albeit rather a long way inwards because our first attempt got caught on a tree, and a second nice diorite wall there which worked rather better, and has blocked off that section. So now we have a bunch more places that we need to build diorite walls to block, or rather collapse diorite walls into the water to block off there, and work out quite what we're going to do here because there's a bunch of trees in the way, and over here, which is another nice simple one. And we've already got access to here because we desperately needed to find a single tree in order to fuel a strange mood. Oh, and there's an entire extra patch, yes, over here. This is a terribly, terribly complicated dungeon. Anyway, so I think we're just going to carry on digging for the most part. What's that object in the water? Yes, that's an olm, right. So I think the next easiest one is probably this area. But there's a slight problem that we need. Can we actually just go round that lake? Yes, we can. So we can dig in from this direction and not have to go under the lake. Well, I suppose actually we can go over. It's a bit faffy going over, isn't it? Yeah, let's go round or under. Round is less confusing. So our basic. So actually, let's mark out how we're going to collapse this, and then work out how we get in there. So this is quite complicated actually, because the roof of the cavern is not level. Though that's not much of a problem. I think what that means is we do what we've done before and build a big bar somewhere up on this level, and then we make sure that we cut down far enough that it will that it doesn't hit any surprise solid rock on the way down. Or rather, we carve out the bottom level of our, or rather the level below the bar here, and the level above the bar here. Right, so let's draw that. So we need to block off. Actually, yes, we only need to block off starting from there. But that, yes. Let's not try to be clever. Don't try to be clever, Ben. Trying to be clever just makes you unhappy. So that means we probably. And then that blockage needs to run to there. So that means we want to go to there. So I think that is the bottom floor, and then that's the middle floor. And that's the upper floor, but actually we want to channel that. Probably don't actually need to be doing this by marking this stage anyway. So then we need to, once we've done that, we work on clearing out the space below. So then, following our usual procedure, we then want down stair there, up down stair, thinking we can easily get across. I think there's no caverns at this, well there are caverns at this level, but they're all, no, that's going to require far too much digging. Right, yes, let's do this the obvious way. There's a slight problem with building a staircase down there, which is that it's exposed to the caverns, but like we don't actually care about that. Right, so we dig that up to there, so we can actually toggle that lot on. Right, so that's that one. Could attempt now I don't quite know how we're going to get to the next one, so let's just let that happen first. Meanwhile, usual, like, what is there going on? We have a bunch of Dralthers, which are mostly harmless. We have a blind cave ogre, which has proved surprisingly harmless. And a bunch of merchants whom we have bought all of the stuff from already. We had the problem that our chief medical dwarf was getting grumpy. It looks like sticking him in the or having him mostly off duty and because he's distracted after being unable to take it easy and after being unable to make merry, which is partly a problem because he's a necromancer and doesn't have to drink and therefore never gets drunk. And is thus also distracted after a lack of decent meals. So I think, yes, he might need to be given some useful jobs. I don't know. He's not currently set up to do very much. So we could give him, temporarily put him on bone carving duty, and I'm sure he'll get some bone carving done at some point. That will cheer him up a bit. And like, it's not like we have a shortage of bones. Or like phenomenal quantities of rotting Dralthers. Not Dralthers, Crundles. Everything is full of rotting Crundles. Yes. going, I could auto mine some of the gems around here just to keep the convenient passing miner busy. Some of these are actually accessible. Have some fun, or don't. Turn out to have something else you wanted to do instead if you must. All the other miners are now coming out to mine those gems, which was not quite what I'd intended, but whatever. Rhythmgates is a very gem-oriented fortress anyway. Oh dear, something's rotting in the dining room. Get rid of that rotting crumbled corpse.
Not sure why someone brought one of those into the dining room in the first.
Not in the dining room, in the workshop area. I should perhaps try to separate out. Actually, yes, that was a plan, a little plan that I had, wasn't it? Was to have a separate, like, butchery area, because we have this slight problem that people who don't like seeing corpses around keep walking past the places where we store corpses, and that's
not good for anyone.
That doesn't cheer everyone. That doesn't cheer people up.
No, really?
So we could try to organise things a bit differently and have a room which contains the butcher's shop, and actually we want, so there's the proper corpse stockpile where we keep dead creatures who might want burying, but probably whom we can't bury because they're intelligent, and so we're actually just going to want to crush them. And the and there's the butcherable corpses stockpile, which we obviously want to have near to the butcher's shop. So if we so my idea here is to stick the intelligent corpses down there. I mean, obviously they're not intelligent anymore. Next to the dump, because they either need to be dumped or they need to be buried, and burial is a fairly rare event. And then we want something like, where do I want it? There's the entrance. Butcher's shop itself isn't actually a problem for the most part, so I think actually I'm just going to build another room there. And then the idea is that will be used to store. Actually, let's also put the route through there, and then we'll stick some doors in. That second one will then be used to store butcherable corpses fairly close to the butcher's shop. I don't think we actually need to hide the butcher's shop per se, because I don't think that's horrifying. So then the idea is that I mark, that I put a rather limited refuse stockpile here, it should have the same settings as this one, which is on in the wrong place anyway. So that's just corpses and body parts. Because everything below that is not stuff that's butcherable. And then this one should be a corpses stockpile, which is just for those things that we might actually want to dump. And then we destroy those two stockpiles, and we stick some doors in the way. And we make some more doors so that no one actually has to see what's going on in there. And we've probably got a decent quantity of beds now because we've got wood. So we can install some beds in the bedrooms. Right, so that's various bits of housekeeping improved upon. And in particular now, if people bring in rotting grundle corpses, they'll put them in that cupboard, which once we've managed to produce a door for it, will keep them nicely out of the way. It's kind of tempting to make it a much bigger cupboard so that things will rot in there rather than rotting out in the caverns. So the person is currently making a door. Right, good. Meanwhile, over here we are. So we want to build a support. May as well build it out of the rock that's immediately available. Obviously also going to need a lever. Let's just stick it in that alcove. That'll be cute. Going to need a few more mechanisms. Need a lot of mechanisms. While we're here, just auto mine that lot. And indeed that lot. I think we can safely auto mine that lot. I should have built that lever earlier. So the lever's now built, and now I don't have enough mechanisms to connect it up, of course. Also, the support hasn't even been built yet. It's still just out there shooting Dralthers, because apparently shooting Dralthers is helpful. What are those gems anyway? Oh, Claro Opals, they're worth having. Now if I try to connect up the lever, presumably, oh, maybe someone's built it. Excellent. Rough diorite pillar thing. That's nice. They kind of cleared off, it appeared, after about a season. So, like, not much of a siege, really.
So you hung around and ended off the mountain and went, you know what, this is boring.
Yes, more or less.
Well, fair, it probably was.
Yes.
Your scholars get in without falling down with goblins.
Yeah, they just spent a little while on the other side of the map and came in once the goblins had gone. Yeah, apparently so.
You crumble Mabel right up. It probably was.
Right, so now the dead Grundle store is has doors separating it off. No, it's storing more because it's more conveniently positioned than the old one. Oh yes, we needed more bins, didn't we? Mine more bins before we run out of wood. There's the wood.
Bins only be made out of wood?
Well, wood and metal, but you can't make metal without wood.
Oh.
No, that's not what I meant. A
Oh,
Q A N. Actually, what we should do, temporarily profile that for just our chief medical dwarf, just to give our chief medical dwarf something to do. Yes. The gems that we could mine out, that we conveniently found while constructing our new collapsing hrung, have all been brought back to the fortress.
Well, it's not all hands.
I don't know.
Well, no, canonically, nobody knows, but
Right, merchants are packing up. Of course, they have a lot of stuff to pack up because I went and bought bins from them and then sold them back the contents of the bins so as to get bins.
so you bought a bin of 14 rabbit hides.
Yes, and then said, "Would you like to buy 14 rabbit hides off me?" Well, they didn't bring any empty bins, but they brought some full bins full of leather. So So I bought the bins full of leather and then sold them the leather because I didn't want the leather. Oh, more scholars arriving with books. Excellent.
Merchants from Inosram is an anagram of dim macho transformers.
Thank you. It's where the merchants that are just leaving have come from. It's not quite as silly as the trick I've done on occasion, which involves buying vast tons of food off a merchant caravan, cooking it up to prepare meals, and then selling it back to them at a huge profit. But like, we don't really have to do that here because we can.
Well, I mean, they're just paying you for a service, right?
Yes. Because here we have other things we can sell them, like
While you wait,
trinkets.
stuff preparation.
Like, we were selling them food, but yes, I've managed it selling them back to the same merchants. I'm not actually in the same pressing tea phase because you have to transport the stuff downstairs. But oh, look, more migrants! How entertaining! So before the migrants arrive, we have about 87 citizens. So I hope you will be cheered by both learning a craft, practicing a craft, and learning a skill or something in there, and maybe even be doing something creative.
I've only just noticed that your chief medical necromancer has an absolute hatred of hamsters.
Yes. So, maybe now he's less annoyed about not being able to. He is unfettered after practicing a craft. Excellent. And unfettered after doing something creative, and after practicing a skill. Yes, we're not keeping you from alcohol. I think we've got plenty of alcohol. You're just not drinking it. Can't think of a way. I mean, I suppose I could like drown him in alcohol or something.
I'm not sure how that helps as such.
Like force feed the necromancer alcohol so he stops being so pissed off about not having had any alcohol. We've got plenty of it. Just you don't eat or drink. Because you're immortal.
How are necromancers?
By knowing the secrets of life and death.
Okay. And apparently secrets of life and death involve not eating or drinking.
Yes. But still living. Well, or kind of living.
Okay. Sounds pretty miserable though, you know.
Yeah, well, apparently it is.
Yes.
This is why my necromancer is stressed. He's distracted after being unable to help anybody. Well, we could go out and deliberately injure dwarves so that you get to help people. But pile up spare beds in there so that people have something to sleep on, even if they don't have their own bedrooms. Might need a bigger library. The current one is looking kind of crowded. Right, so is that... Oops. Lever linked up now, yes. So we can... No one now needs access to that support, so we can... mark that to be cleared out. Right, so yes, that'll be fine. Miners will be along in a bit to mine all of that. I think if our necromancer does enough of this, they should learn bone carving. Once they get up to novice bone carver, then that should get them another bit of... I can't do most of those things because you don't eat or drink and your family's not here. I mean, I thought you had a husband or something. No, okay, apparently not. Your outpost liaison is a kindred spirit. How helpful. You don't see them very often. Yes, you don't appear to have any family at all. He's going, how are you unhappy at being apart from your family when your family doesn't exist? I mean, yes, you haven't seen any family members, but that's because you don't have any family members. It usually turns out to mean that someone has tried to mine channel underneath someone else. They never have it. The necromancer's family never has existed. I think. Like, you know, if we look at an ordinary dwarf,
surely a necromancer must have had a family before them.
You'd think so, yes. So if we look at this. No, relationships. An ordinary dwarf. Now, actually, they don't appear to have any parents either. It might just be because the world is fairly young. But, like, she's only 67. Was born in year 101. I suppose, possibly, dwarves that some of your immigrants probably have to be unfamily. Have to be familyless because otherwise the game would have to have invented their families or something. If families did not exist, someone would need to invent them.
Good.
And they just start off feeling confused.
Actually, all we need to do at this layer is arrange that there isn't any floor below that there isn't any solid rock below there. So we actually just need to carve out the same area down here.
I really just realised you're emulating the frog starving pot.
Yes.
I can take this floor out too, no trouble.
Fetch those gems while you're there. I mean, admittedly, yes, those will be fetchable. What now? Okay, yes, if you want to eradicate monsters, if nothing else, you've probably got some decent armour we can steal when you get killed.
Is that stealing?
Well,
So this world
not quite, no.
complicated inheritance laws.
No, as far as I can see, interrupted by giant cave toad. Doesn't seem to be a particularly scary thing, but like, maybe I should just leave it to the if it's in the way, we don't want giant cave toad there. Gloved tundras deal with it if no one else has killed it first, because it appears that it's being vigorously hunted. Right, okay. I think it got killed by being punched repeatedly. Yes. It accosted a dwarf, and so the dwarf punched it repeatedly until it died.
Was this dwarf in a particularly bad mood, or just didn't want
Don't think so, but it was notable that the dwarf was pursuing the giant cave toad. So, like, they're not always.
This is not self-defense. This is like taking out some previous
Yes.
frustration.
While we're here, I noticed that we can get at that gem cluster.
Community service, I suppose.
Right, so now the only thing is that a bunch of dwarves are going to turn up and try to collect those gems one at a time. Oh no, someone has picked them all the remaining ones up. Excellent. Right, so the water that we wish to block is that square and that square and that square and those two squares, which are conveniently below that. And there's no solid rock between them and the bar that we're going to drop, because we've cleared out that floor and the solid bar is there, and everyone is moving clear of the site, so I think we can now go pull the lever.
We don't have glass space.
Here is the militia captain who has been assigned the job of pulling the lever and is currently having difficulty finding a route.
Car they ran outside, slowly disgorging its contents. So
Oh,
Okay, well, maybe we should come downstairs.
I'm just going to pause now and check that there is no one in the path of the cave in. There is not. And enormous clouds of dust and mist. And as the dust and mist clears, we see that access to the outside world has been correctly sealed off. Excellent. Right. Yes, it is quite a lot of a maze down here. Right, so the next interesting question is how we deal with this corner where there's a bloody great black cap in the way. Probably going to require several separate, at least two separate cave-ins. However, our food delivery has just arrived. So, should I pause the stream or should I stop the stream?
Well, we can witcher them.
Well,
Again.
yeah, the game's paused already. I was meaning, I don't have a screen for pausing the stream.
Isn't it the same? Please wait.
I suppose I could just go back to Please Wait. Yes, actually, I've got a button for Please Wait, but play the Dwarf Fortress music instead of random K-pop. So I'm going to switch to that while we go and sort out our shopping. I will see you in... We could have vague... I don't know that vague unpacking noises are very helpful, though. No, I'm going to put some light music on, and we'll probably be back in 20 minutes or so. See you soon. Right, hello again. Uh, we have now dealt with our incoming groceries and can thus get back to the Dwarf Fortress while someone else makes tea. So we had right, yes, that was just someone punching a giant cave toad to death. Yeah. So we've walled off that section. So now our slight tricky... So we want to get in over the caverns here, which is going to require coming in reasonably high. Conveniently, someone's built this staircase over here. Inconveniently, someone's then gone and collapsed the room next to the staircase. So maybe we actually want to walk through that room and then go up on the other side rather than having to dig around the edge of it. I managed to get myself terribly confused there. I have, because I'm currently set to auto mining ore and gems, which doesn't exactly help with building staircases. So we only want to end somewhere over there, aren't we? So what I should actually do is do what I did before and work out. So what on earth are we going to do about these inconvenient trees? So it looks like because we've got the tunnel tube. Interestingly, if we were careful, we could use that tunnel tube to keep the water out. Because if we were to put our do a fairly long cave in along this row, does that work? Because that black cap doesn't extend into this row, and so we could have the cave in start there and go all the way over to here. And that would block. Actually, strictly, it only has to go to there. That would block everything. It would, but it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It would get stopped by that tunnel tube, but that's fine because the tunnel tube itself is blocking that section of the tunnel, as it were. Yeah. Doesn't, of course, and the black cap. While it would not be okay to land on top of the black cap because it isn't properly blocking things, we can miss the black cap. Right, that's a plan. So I think our cave-in thus runs from here. So that means that the room we want to dig goes from there out. Let's block it. Let's do it properly. To there. So that's the ground floor. So following the usual thing, we want that to be not yet dug out, but we want to channel this area on this floor and mine that area, which will be the thing that falls, and so that end of it's in the right place, and the only slightly tricky thing is that small corner there, which we'll have to do a bit of extra digging to make it work properly. Right, okay. Go. Yes, Alex asks, what does 4 mean? Oh, the hillocks of purple hammer. So the 4 is the priority of that digging job. So you can say which things should be dug first or last. And so yes, the 4 is like the middle of the scale. So that's an ordinary priority digging job as opposed to a high or low priority one. So you can kind of set the order in which things get done, which is useful if you're going to have a large, like I often want anyone who's a stone, what's the correct phrase? A stone detailer to be smoothing the bedrooms, but there's so much work to do smoothing the bedrooms, that I mark that as a really low priority. Okay. Someone has founded the hillocks of purple hammer a day's travel to the south, looking to my thriving economy for its future prosperity.
When do they look to our economy?
I don't know.
Are they going to try to trade with us, or are they going to try to sponge off us?
I'm just seeing if I can find it on the map. Artifact rumoured. Not rumoured. We know what's here. Oh, there we are. The Dwarven hillocks of purple hammer. Population of about 50. Apparently economically linked to me, I can request workers from them if I really want to. I don't think I have a shortage of workers. Steph now asks, how much of the world exists? At a fairly abstracted level, quite a lot. So, like, this is the world, as we can see. It has dark goblin pits and elven forest retreats and mountains and human forest retreats. That's a bit curious. And they're all kind of simulated at the level of, well, there is a town here and it's doing this sort of thing. Not simulated at the level we've got of here is every person present in that area and what they're doing. So yes, there is quite a lot of world. I've lost where we are now. I suppose I can do that just by. Oh yes, we're right on the edge of the glacier. Yes. What's going on up there then? All right, that's a tiny bit of like freezing jungle. That seems like quite an odd place to be. Yes, we were thinking about. Are we officially in? Yes, we are officially in the Ecru Blizzard, right on the ends of the Horn of Combining. But for the most part, we're interested in what goes on underground here in our fortress. You can see the water still recovering from me dropping a load of rock in it. Indeed, the water gradually draining off the top surface of the rock we dropped. So it all has a thin layer of water which will eventually evaporate. And indeed the water has poured into the neighbouring areas. And what, have you just turned up and shed blood all over my nice new corridor? Oh right, you've been trampling through giant cave toad blood, have you? And yes, I appreciate there is a quantity of giant cave toad blood around. That's nice. What are you trying? Oh, the mayor has decided that because we've upgraded things, they're now going to require a better office and a better bedroom. Okay. We'll deal with the office first. The usual approach to that is just engrave the floor with whatever we can engrave the floor with. Still under a great deal of stress. Lisa felt satisfied at work and relieved while yelling at someone.
The person yelled at probably not relieved.
Yeah, but that's the mayor. That's what being mayor is for. Is that unhappy?
You're the person unhappy balls yell at when
Yes.
they are unhappy.
I kind of hope that you'll learn something soon. Maybe I need to send you back to being a scholar so that you can do some abstract thinking. And of course, you don't have a bedroom, do you? Because you probably don't sleep either. So you can't have pleasure in your bedroom either. Right, let's make sure all of these beds are actually bedrooms, and then look at cheering up the mayor. Oh, and I should see how many citizens we've got now that a bunch of immigrants has arrived.
This is to check how many bedrooms you have.
Yeah. So you had like 90 odd before. Oh, we didn't gain very many citizens. Good. Why are you, my dear visiting monster slayer, sitting around in the fortress rather than going out and slaying monsters? So is anyone right? Whatever that is there, it's unbutcherable. So let us dispose of it. And similarly, those are all unhelpful and can be disposed of. While we are slowly digging our way to the next cave-in zone. That's nice. More opals for our opal gun. No, that's not quite right. Right, so It's people coming out, digging one tile and then going away again. So we already have that lever, though we're going to want I wonder where the mechanisms usually end up in the water if we're lucky. Yes, there are the diorite mechanisms, not only in the water but on the wrong side of the dam, so they're not coming back. How many mechanisms have I got in stock? I have got 2 unused mechanisms, though. I think. Well, that might include the one that's in the water. Let's make more mechanisms. We need 2 mechanisms for this job, so let's make 2 mechanisms. So now we have a giant cave swallow skeleton. Still can't do anything with helmet snake tooth. And a couple of grundle skeletons that will shortly be converted into something more useful. Dispose of the spare scale. You still can't make use of that. Now obviously you should be able to make leather from reptile skins, but
Yeah, because good handbags were a thing. Look at crocodiles like you know. They probably won't pass.
yes, actually, how does the mare feel about being yelled at repeatedly? Oh yes, we were going to sort out the mare's no, she feels euphoric due to inebriation.
Also grouchy drinking the same old booze. So.
Yeah, we should clearly get some better booze. Didn't feel. Oh yes, of course. She felt empathy while being yelled at by an unhappy citizen. She's clearly made for this job. Was the chief medical dwarf necromancer who went to yell at them about all his stress. She could do with having a better. She didn't really like the fact that her meeting was in the wrong place. Why is her name lowercase? Steph asks. Yes, that's actually just because Dwarf Fortress runs in code page 437, and code page 437 doesn't have a full set of uppercase accented letters. So some of them have to end up being in lowercase. Why the Dwarven language hasn't been designed to fit sensibly into code page 437, you would have to ask Toady 1.
Nothing was ever designed on purpose to fit into code page 437. Why should Dwarfish be any different?
Well, if you're inventing the language after the invention of code page 437, then...
The first one's more, keep that one on side. Very hard not to think of those first ones every time a door has push ring on.
Well, I think of the Assassin's Creed one, so there's an awful lot more than either of
Yes.
like Aura and things.
So yes, our mayor's only big problem is lack of romance in her life. And I'm not really sure that I'm in a position to fix that. But I could improve her accommodation.
Hey,
Indeed, I am improving her accommodation.
if you improve her bedroom, maybe she'll find
Maybe
that
Yeah.
life improves.
It's possible. Okay, so we have engraved the floor of her office, but this doesn't seem to have made it sufficiently much better. Possibly because our engravers can't actually work underneath all the furniture she's got. So she only actually got 2 squares engraved. We could probably safely engrave the walls as well. There's a slight problem with engraving walls that that if you then ever have to make a hole in the wall, you might upset the engraver because you'll destroy their work. Also, it doesn't help when people engrave the wall from the wrong side. grumble. And yes, we should also find the mayor's bedroom because she's complaining about that as well. It can be awkward because but she's probably not married. She was whinging about being about not having enough romance. Well, okay, maybe I'm being optimistic about marriage here. Right, there's her bedroom. So let us also engrave all over her bedroom. Actually, which one was it again? Was it the yellow one? Yes. Let's just do the floor for now and see if that makes it good enough. This, of course, is a problem that we have here that we didn't have so much in Nose Tools, because Nose Tools had larger bedrooms and the bedroom layers were all in limestone, which is more valuable than diorite, I think. So the rooms were thus inherently more valuable because they have walls made of a nicer material. Yes, the engravings are entirely decorative, but they thus should increase the value of the room, which ought to cheer up people, the occupant of the room. So if we now look, her office is still not decent. I mean, part of the problem here is that I am co-locating her office and her dining room, which means that the stuff in there contributes to both, but it also has there's also a reduction in the value of the room caused by its dual use. Yes. So it's still only a modest office, it looks like. So clearly this requires some more action, because we've improved things quite a lot in there. I mean, the entertaining approach to this is something like we make some ludicrously jewel encrusted furniture for her, which requires a bit of care, but maybe we can pull it off. So, like, if we make a new, so if we make her a new, say, table. Have we got any tables in stock? Can I mean, I don't know. I haven't tried doing this kind of thing recently. We have 0 tables in stock and our chairs under throne, yes, and 0 thrones, right. So let's make a table and a chair and then see if we can, first I suppose, is slate of any useful value? Is it item value? Yes, there it is. Let me look at what stones I want to use. Material multipliers, stones. No, I mean, could make things out of galena. I suppose it's not very safe, but I could make her a galena, or possibly something better depending on what we've got in stock, but make her a galena table. And is it galena or galena? Jacob, tell me the answer. we could make her a galena table and chair, which would be more valuable than making them out of mere diorite. So if I want to do that, I have to first say temporarily that it's okay to use galena for building things out of, and then I should be able to go details. Why have we only got one of those available? Have I actually smelted all of the galena I've mined? That's kind of horrifying if so. No, I really haven't. There's lots of it. Look.
It sounds like the answer is galena though.
Oh no, that's tetrahedrite. Is tetrahedrite more or less valuable?
More or less.
Tetrahedrite is less valuable. Sorry, what was your answer, Verity?
Galena.
Galena. Right. No, I was mining tetrahedrite, of course, because I wanted copper. No, I wanted copper for making weapons. So we need to do a quick bit of galena mining. Did we conveniently penetrate a galena seam in that staircase? Yes, we did. So let us start a galena mine. It doesn't really matter, Ben. Let's pick somewhere. What did I do with the lead mine and the staircase? I actually made a moderate mess of it. Okay, let's not worry about that then. Auto mining ore and gems. Right. No, let's make that a lower priority, because if I actually tell someone to mine something, I want... Yes. So we have one piece of galena because we dug a staircase straight through a galena vein. So we will... that will get us some galena, which we can use for making more valuable furniture. And it's not much good as an ore, because lead is nowhere near as useful an ore as nowhere near as useful a metal as copper. Yes, thank you, Verity, for providing words. So that should allow us to improve the mayor's office a bit. Right, so now we've dug down to there. Oh, we needed to build a support, didn't we? Oops, no. And while we're here, no, we only need one support, but that should be a higher priority, because that needs to be done before we drop this. There's a convenient small cluster of gems there that we can mine out. So to make this reasonably easy to organise, I'm going to make a tiny furniture stockpile here, which will only be allowed to take tables and chairs. And since we know that we only have one table and one chair, well, we will shortly only have one table and one chair in the fortress, all being well, actually we can make that, set that up to take from the big stockpiling case. Well, we'll see where they go. All being well, the table and the chair will thus get filed in this place will contain solely that table and that chair, which might help with organising things, maybe. How's the support going? The support is installed, so we can now connect that. May as well use the same lever as last time.
Strange combination of extravagance and economy. Digging out enormous ranges of the cavern for a one-off thing, and yet you're carefully bringing the lever from one place to the next because levers are apparently difficult and expensive.
Well, the lever's already installed, and the dwarf's going to have to walk past it anyway, so.
What's the light blue rectangle?
That's what will be the bottom layer of this room when I dig it out. It's marked as to be dug out, but not going to be dug out quite yet.
What is not going to be installed?
Something like that, yes. So I then go encrust with amethyst furniture. Can I then details that? I can't actually specify what furniture, which furniture I want, but I can specify an image. So what does the mayor like? There's the mayor. She likes dacite, copper, topaz, ocelot leather, spears, enormous corkscrews, llamas for their wool, and the sight of the aquamarine sheen. Okay. So can I say encrust with an image of a creature of a llama? Probably doesn't like llama demons. I think you may be confused here. I'm pretty sure a llama is not a... Yeah, thank you. Not a small... I think it had kept the description of aardvark, which is, of course, the first thing in the list. Even when I switched to llama. Right. How many llamas should we... I don't know. She didn't tell us what numbers she liked. Let's go for 7 llamas. An image of 7 llamas. Oh, yes. Which is apparently called the round lance. We might be able to change that to something more useful. And then we can put the llamas in, but the first options are flayed, mutilated, shot, or tortured. Now we want a cheerful llama. We could have llamas striking a triumphant pose. That would seem appropriate, wouldn't it? Image of 7 llamas. The 7 llamas are striking a triumphant pose. You need to change the name, obviously, because that's not right, I think. Oh, I've turned caps lock on. That's why nothing's working. Only we, of course, don't get to choose an arbitrary name. Oh, no. Let's just hit random until it comes up with a sensible one. What would be a sensible name for... Yeah, the rough proliferation is a good name for 7 llamas striking a triumphant pose, I think. Is there anything else we should put in with the llamas? I don't think those exist. Remember, our tech level is only like the mid-15th century. No. Right, okay, let's just do that. Done. So we're attempting to apply an image of llamas in amethyst. If we're lucky, this will select the correct furniture. If not, we'll accidentally encrust all of our furniture with images of amethysts images of 7 llamas in amethysts. Yeah, we could try adding up.
When the mayor finds out about that, she'll be amused no end and cheered up.
Aha! It looks like our jeweller has picked up the correct item of furniture, which is curiously heavy, as though someone has made it out of a lead ore. So they are now applying cushion amethyst cabochons to a Galena throne. Thank you. Yes, maybe we could have done enormous enormous corkscrews as well. I presume the aquamarine sheen is a god. I mean, I assume I can't now modify that image, and it's now stuck being just 7 llamas and can't be 7 llamas at an enormous corkscrew. There'll be a short delay now while we save the game. It is winter. So is the butcher shop is doing nothing, which means that all the stuff in the butchery stores is unbutcherable. So let's dispose of it all. Right, so in this workshop now we have a Galena throne. On the item is a rendition of the rough proliferation, an image of 7 llamas. The 7 llamas are striking a triumphant pose.
So is that causing the thing?
No. So we could encross some more furniture with amethyst. Again, existing image, the rough proliferation. Where is this cave crocodile then? How many? Hey, gloved tundras, go and deal with that cave crocodile. It is interrupting people. It's injured someone. That's just not fair. It's injured a militia captain. Ow, that sounds messy. Bitten in the lower left arm, tearing apart the muscle. I think this may not be a very well equipped militia captain. Yes, please keep it together. I mean, you're just outside the front door. Unfortunately, the chief medical dwarf is busy engaged in bone carving. Excuse me, I'm going to cancel that task so that you can go and do something medical. Except that now you're going to get distracted because, of course, it's not your job to recover the injured dwarf to the hospital, is it? So I should wait for the injured dwarf to be recovered back to the hospital. And now, actually, you see, it looks like you're on your way. Where are you? What are you doing? Yes, you're off to diagnose the patient. Good. Meanwhile, the cave crocodile has been killed.
You got the throne, don't you? So this person is trying to across the amethyst. That side of it, actually.
There's the table. All being well. Are we out of... That mean we're out of amethysts? How embarrassing. Oh, it might just mean that the amethysts were temporarily locked. Yeah, I think that was this. We got the throne done, but we're now doing their table as well. But I think there's often a problem that all of our cut gems are stored in one bin, and thus whenever anyone needs a cut gem or needs to put a cut gem away, they temporarily lock the bin, and therefore unhappiness ensues, or at least fails to avoid ensuing. But yes, the cave crocodile got dealt with pretty swiftly as soon as someone turned up with a useful weapon. Oh yes, we've got some ducks, haven't we? We should try to do something with the ducks. Right, so now we have a fairly valuable Galena table. On the item is a rendition of, as again, 7 llamas striking a triumphant pose.
Dorothy Jacob sent you a request, you didn't read it. Thank you.
Do we encrust them with a few more kinds of gem? We've got some claro opal kicking around. We could encrust them with that. Encrust the furniture with that as well. So obviously, that should then have an image of giant corkscrews or something, shouldn't it? An enormous cork. Isn't that obvious? I don't know. I think it has 5 enormous corkscrews.
That's a decent title.
Can I also say and 2 spears? I think that's appropriate.
The moral of crafting is that if you put a lot of effort into making an image of something ridiculous, then you've got an image of something ridiculous.
Yes, something like that.
Hopefully this doesn't lead towards inventing NFTs.
I don't. Can we surround the spears? The two spears are surrounded by 5 enormous corkscrews. Yeah, I think that's getting close to being a coat of arms, isn't it?
3 llamas redundant.
I have no idea why X is smeared out into a spiral. What? Yes, you're quite right. There is smeared out into a spiral option. I have no idea. Right, I think we'll do that as the new item, new image. Yes, someone was asking what's the use of an enormous corkscrew. More seriously, they can be used for making traps, and they can be used for making Archimedean screw pumps.
Ah, right. So it's more generally a screw used in a
Yeah, it really means an enormous helical screw.
yes, not in fact an enormous cork, but enormous wine bottle,
No.
which you can't then drive around in with.
No, I don't want you to encrust a willow barrel with those. Stop it. Cancel the task. Okay, so let's try it with Ruby Cell, which might be in a more sensible location. Because I think that the thing is, this relates to how dwarves choose what. Oh, and of course, no, that's not going to work, because I think they generally, at the moment when they need to decide on an object to use for something, they pick the nearest object of the right type. Oh, I think it's a bit rude calling whoever that is, because they're not goblins, a vile force of darkness. I'm getting into a fight with a giant olm. We apparently are being attacked by dwarves. Well, that's a bit rude. I'm afraid since it's the middle of winter, I'm just going to lock you out. Like, I don't have any need to go on the surface for about 9 months, until the dwarven caravan arrives. I mean, I'd like to meet the human caravan, but...
This is not strictly required.
Yes. I mean, admittedly, we haven't managed to get anyone to the front door fast enough, because the dwarves... Oh no, that's not the invading dwarves, that's a bunch of scholars. Well, you might make it in before we lock the front door. I think the invading dwarves are not being quite fast, they're not being as quick. Because here comes someone to lock the door. Hmm?
Is it simulated where what fortress or...
Yes, there will be a civilization that they've come from, though we probably don't know who they are. I might actually, if I... Is there a button for... I've never pressed that button before. Yes. So I think that says that's us. That's the dwarven hillocks of Purple Hammer who are economically linked to us. The oddly named thing system rope. So the only civilization we know of that we're at war with, and where is us? Are we the Rock? Yes, we are the Rock of Fortune. Is the Nightmare of Gold, who are a mostly goblin civilization, but it may be that they have some dwarfs with them as well. And like this is a fairly serious. Yes, actually, those names, while they are dwarves, those are blatantly goblin names. So I think that this is a population of dwarves from a mostly goblin civilization.
Is there a danger that they can dig down to you?
Not yet. It's on the to-do list for Dwarf Fortress is the ability of people is proper siege engineering.
Well, not even necessarily siege engineering, but your dwarves got into the mountain by applying pickaxes until they were
Yes.
inside. They've sent dwarves rather than goblins, which means in principle these dwarves could do the same thing. And then having locked the door would be of some irrelevance.
But that's quite a big army. I'm quite glad I've just gone, no, we're staying indoors, thank you.
Sorry, we have to stay indoors. There's a pandemic on. Pandemic of ethically goblin dwarves.
Right. Meanwhile, how is my actual engineering going on? That somehow ended up suspended. Let's unsuspend it. So I've just pressed the wrong bloody button again. I keep pressing X accidentally on jobs and they thus vanish or get confused. And I meant Z. Right. Now, this dwarf is going over to link up the support. Fiddle, 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 fiddle. Now we need to go and collect a suitable mechanism for linking up the other end, I think. Yes. They're big and heavy. Especially when you go making them out of rock, which I do because metal is expensive. So there you see that this dwarf is now moving rather slower as a result of carrying this mechanism. So I will leave that for a while and go back to the that giant olm may need killing because it, while probably not actually dangerous, yeah, it keeps interrupting people. Right, there we are, one dead giant olm. So, is the encrusting job still pending? No, I wonder what got encrusted then. Because I'm fairly sure I asked for something to be encrusted. Let's try again. Okay, the oh no, I'm going to try to do this, get this right. Let's just do a quick rubbish check. That lot's all unusable. Yeah. To be fair, actually, of course, we can now get on with the digging here, because there's no need to actually get at that. Oops, no. To get at the lever again. Yes, happily for our necromancer, once bones have been processed by a butcher's shop, once skeletons have been processed by a butcher's shop into their distinct bones, they are no longer able to be revived. Actually, no, I don't think we want that, do we? We just want to go. Well, let's not dig that out just yet. Let's wait for them to do the next layer up first. But then we do need to think about where we need to clear out below. So that will make sure that our lump of stone falls correctly. What are you encrusting? You're encrusting a barrel. Stop it. Yes, I don't want my barrels encrusted with gems. I'm going to give up on this gem thing now, because I apparently can't get them to select the right objects anymore. Actually, I think I may have worked out why, but I can't be bothered. Let's try installing this furniture and see if it's good enough.
I must admit, I thought randomly encrusting everything is like with gems until you run out of either gems or available surfaces was normal for the dwarf fort.
Yes, I'm trying not to do that though, and just encrust things I want to encrust. Like all of our little bonecraft trinkety things.
I mean, my impression in general is that dwarven art appreciation does not have any notion of tasteful moderation.
Not in general, no.
But if you like, say, jewels, then it follows that more jewels are better, and you must encrust everything with jewels until you run out of jewels. Right,
so now we're removing the old table, the old chair from the
Menace.
Why can't I take that for engraving, I wonder? Oh, because actually most of the floor in her room hasn't even been smoothed. Well, let's sort that out. And meanwhile, install the exciting table. No, chair. Not very sensible to put 2 tables in the room. Someone is now hauling that. I'm fairly sure cave crocodiles have claws and not nails.
Have you fastened them to the wall yet?
We've got it up to office, if not decent yet. Well, let's now remove the table, sorry.
You want to know how this works?
Well, I am looking for it to snap now 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
This is the breakfast upstairs.
I've just temporarily untagged a small section of that because it looks like the floor above has not yet been cleared out properly. Sure someone will get around to it eventually. Anyway, about that. Yes. Now let's try engraving that lot again. White blur. Put the extravagant table in there. Good. There's not much benefit in removing the upward ramps, but it just feels polite. So it like tidy things up a bit. Giant cave toads may be so soft it's not really worth sending the military after them.
You want to lure the giant cave toads into the danger zone of your next planned cavern collapse. That would be the stylish way of doing it.
I have used cave-ins for disposal of inconvenient creature purposes. Right, so that is now, I think, if I haven't screwed this up too badly, ready to be collapsed. At one end of the thing. That bit will be blocked off by that tunnel tube, but that's fine. Because the tunnel tube itself blocks the water. That square is not blocked by the tunnel tube. And the bar extends all the way out here, which means it will completely block that passage. Right. Time to pull the lever again for our biggest cave-in yet. I think it is. Admittedly, the world's full of Grundles now, so this job may get cancelled 15 times because the Grundle keeps turning up. Right, and as expected, a section of cavern has collapsed. So let's just go down to a reasonable water level and watch the enormous cloud of dust, which happily no one should have been near, and the great ripples in the water as we dump things into it. And then check down at this level, and it looks like it's blocked. I mean, I'm slightly assuming that that tunnel tube there does correctly block the water flow. But we have, in nose tools, we accidentally came close to drowning a dwarf because a tree trunk was blocking water flow. So I think I'm fairly convinced.
Confused, convinced. This game is more or less the same.
Yes.
I feel untethered after unplugging my laptop from the wall.
Yes, I should probably wall in that tunnel tube to make sure that I don't accidentally cut it down and let all the water in. Because once I've drained the water, of course, we can build a wall across the passageway. So yes, there's now slightly too much water in there and it's all sloshing around a bit. Right, so there is merely one more blockage to build, which is across this section here. I think some Grundles may have been surprised by the rapid movement of water. And have accidentally ended up in the drink. Right, so now I think we just keep... So let's see, we have an accessible area there, which maybe... or we have an accessible area there. Probably slightly quicker. Yeah, that's a lot of tunnelling. No, let's do it from this side. So this lot. Let's do what we did before and go mark only. The area that we're going to need to dig out on that level. Okay, don't set it designating all though, otherwise that will not be helpful. So that's where the bottom of our thing's going to be. That's the middle level, which has the initial beam in it, and that's the top level. So the access is going to come from there. We will then want an upstairs there, an up downstairs there, downstairs there. Carve out that area, except of course that will be channeled to form the shape of the thing that we're dropping. We will want 2 more mechanisms. And I think we probably need to send the military out for a little crundle squishing expedition, simply in order to reduce the sheer number of crundles that are lying around. Maybe I should put the chief medical dwarf into the military for a bit. I think we probably want him to... Oh, someone drowned. That's bad. Oh dear, I think someone got into a fight with a Crundle in the corridors and has thus... Well, that sounds like what I understand parenthood to be like. Bit on Olindag, peasant cancels sleep seeking infant. Not has been found drowned. Well, we should, since it may be a little while before that poor dwarf gets... Oh, do we need to make some more slabs? Okay. Gets properly buried. We will put up a more memorial to them initially. So yes, as you might expect, our butcher's shop is currently busy butchering Crundles. Right, so now we should, well, once that slab has been delivered to the stockpile, oh, apparently hasn't yet been delivered to the stockpile. Let's wait a little longer. Because obviously attacking a giant peregrine falcon is going to end well for you, my dear hunter. Right, looks like that job has not been cancelled. Oh no, what? Has it been cancelled or am I stoked? No, it hasn't. Two people carrying diorite slabs in opposite directions. Has our chief medical dwarf going to shout at people again? No, he's going to individual combat drill. Well, that should improve your martial arts and you should stop whinging. I suspect that most of those bits of Crundle are not reusable, but is there now an engraved memorial? Yes. Oops, we had a memorial spare that we hadn't installed. Is that one? Cibrec Fidot nosing, yes. Okay. No, that was not. I don't mean to install a random memorial. Install a memorial to the person whose coffin it is. I want to make a couple more coffins. Oops, no. No! And then install next to that coffin, since we know, since that's intended to be the coffin for. I'll just check that was. Am I in Stoke? No, I think I'm in Stoke again. That's the as yet unengraved slab. You need to wait for the other one because it's halfway to being put back in a stockpile and is thus not currently available for new tasks. Trying to be efficient here and arranging to install that support now. Make sure we get all the opals. The support has been designed. Ah yes, so what was going on with that? We haven't actually reassigned that being the correct dining room, have we? Now, apparently this, despite those rather nice bits of furniture, that dining room is still not good enough. So we're going to have to make it even better somehow. I suppose now we just start replacing all the other items of furniture. I mean, there is a particularly silly approach to making a room better, which is you stick a lever in it and then pour mechanisms into the lever until it has enough value. So let's make that not a throne and table stockpile, but instead a boxes and bags stockpile. And then we'll make a couple of coffers, possibly, and then decorate them as hard as we can. I will actually go a bit further with my organisations in order to force things to work properly. Anyway, meanwhile, nothing's going over there. So that support is now built. So let's just link it up to the old lever. You can get at least some of the mining done while the lever connecting is going on.
Yes! I put 10 seconds on the microwave timer and I got there with 12 seconds to go rather than 2.
No jobs pending, so everything left in here is something we can't do anything with. Hang on, no, but if we're making a coffer, oh, we just made the coffer. We should make and I assume we don't have any more exciting rocks around. I think Galena is the best we've got. Yeah. That's an unexciting diorite coffer. Can I adjust that stockpile to only take Galena coffers? Yes. Oops, no. Didn't quite mean to block that much. That should cause things to get reorganised suitably. Temporarily turn off general work orders. Oh no, is there an option for look just temporarily? I suppose I can set an impossible condition on it, can't I? Right, if there are any items, then that's a way to turn off a job. That will make sure that that stockpile is now only used. That jeweler's workshop is temporarily suspended from normal operations. while we try to get some more good furniture in it. Here comes someone to sort out the linking up of the pillar, lugging yet another diorite mechanism. Right, so now we can finish digging out around here, because there's no longer any need for anyone to get on top of that bar. We're in that awkward period where all the Crundle corpses are rotting, and so it's really unhelpful for people to bring them inside, actually. Probably about time someone operated the atom smasher. How are the invaders doing anyway? They're still there. Looks like they've been busy hunting coyotes mostly. Maybe not. Yeah, we've been out of logs for a bit, but we'll get there soon. Got one more bit of digging to do here, and then we clear out the layer below, and then we trigger that thing, and then we start draining. What? I thought you were coming in here to dig out the one... Well, why dangerous terrain? It's not dangerous at all. I think that's a kitten, not a Crundle. Yes. That's good. So now we can clear out the space underneath this bar, and we drop that one into the water. Okay, why have our Galena things not been filed in the correct place? Actually, what I'm going to do is what I did before, which was to at least temporarily mark rotting crundles as forbidden. To discourage people from bringing them into the fortress until they've rotted properly. So I've set. Hang on, is that? Oh, yes, there. No. Taken from stockpile 7. That is stockpile 7 that contains those coffers. No one actually appears to be trying to move those coffers, even though I've marked that stockpile is to take from the other stockpile. I mean, like, I can temporarily exclude objects made of galena from the main stockpile, I suppose. So that they're then not even eligible to be stored there. Might encourage the movement of those objects. The mayor's obviously not going to do anything very useful at the moment because the mayor's pissed off about the state of her accommodation. Yeah, any incoming scholars are likely to be a little unhappy at the moment because there's no way into the fortress. Because there's a great big army out there. Right, so all the digging for that last cave-in is complete. The lever doesn't have a job pending to connect it up. So let's pull the lever. Oh, and I could release the military, couldn't I? Who were sent off to kill some grundles because the grundles were getting in the way. Meanwhile, here comes someone to pull the lever. That looks like it did about the right thing. Splish! Water everywhere. And more importantly, a wall! So, I think that means that the main lake here is now isolated from all of the ways that you can connect to it off the map. Which means if we start draining the water out of it, it will stay drained. So now we should start, I think, digging drains to connect it, to connect the lake to the outside world. So it seems to me, given the layout of this, that this corner might be a nice place to. Well, actually, where how far? No, let's start up here. So my belief is that anywhere that's off the map that isn't already, where there isn't already a square of water at the edge of the map, like here, anywhere that there isn't that, we can dig out to the edge of the map and the water will flow out rather than in. So I think a good place to test that would be here, and that we should therefore dig a downward staircase. Actually, no. Dig a downward staircase there. An up down stair there. An up staircase there. And then I think do the same. No, actually there. So that will provide a two units high dwarf accessible corridor. Which runs up to within 1 square of the edge of the map. And that is stage 1 of... Oh yes, and we can dismantle that lever now. Don't know why a dwarf just wandered up and deposited a gem on that lever. I could... Yeah, anyway. I don't know what's going on with these Galena chests, because they're not allowed to be stored in this stockpile anymore. And yet they're not being moved into this stockpile. Have I screwed up this stockpile settings somehow? Oh, you don't allow any quality, idiot. Permit all qualities. It'll work a lot better. Right. Maybe. Might work a lot better. Reinstate that take just in case that's necessary. Right, so anyway, let's go and pay attention over here, because that's probably now digging's done. So I should now be able to smooth that wall. It doesn't look like a very happy cave crocodile anyway, but now quite a dead cave crocodile. Right, finally those coffers have been put in the right place. So now what I want to do is now to mark this, rather to mark that and the gem stockpile as being able to give to that jeweller's workshop. And then that jeweller's workshop will only be able to consume gems and those two coffers. So that should then, if we're really lucky and we don't have too many bits of gem contention, cause the two allowed pieces of furniture to get encrusted with rubicelle. No, of course it was going to get screwed up. Well, one of them managed to get encrusted anyway. Now another thing is being encrusted. Or rather, no, the same chest is now doubly encrusted. Hello, Eek. Good night, Eek. So this now has 7 llamas and 5 enormous corkscrews and 2 spears. The 2 spears being surrounded by the 5 enormous corkscrews. So it's currently worth 1550. We're a bit short. We've got some claro opal as well. I think we should just go for hanging rings of claro opal. Another cave crocodile. Just wait for the military to get there with weapons. You're fairly seriously injured, and you are beating this cave crocodile to death. Wait for the spear dwarves to arrive. Yeah, that's on the upper level, we're not too worried about that. Yes, while we weren't paying attention, that's what our Galena mine ended up like. Since there's some accessible gems there. Right, so now that wall is smoothed, so now we can carve fortifications into it. Which will allow water to flow. Right, so one of those coffers is now ludicrously over-decorated, and we should install it in the mayor's office. Maybe we should start building more temples. Yes. Your quarters are not up to scratch either. Let's engrave the walls of your quarters, because that will improve matters a bit. Though you might get annoyed at all people doing it while you're trying to sleep. Right, so we now have a way for the water to drain out of the map, we hope. So now I think if I just cut a channel here, that will then connect that very edge of the lake, which is not going to be a great place to drain from, but it's somewhere we could easily get to test. And like, if we're patient, it will nonetheless eventually drain the entire lake through that small hole. In practice, we probably want to start working on other drains in other parts of the map. Because trying to drain the entire lake through a small hole in one corner is not going to work very well. Conveniently, we have access to a lot of the map through the through having built these tunnels along this north edge. So you could quite easily dig additional drains based on those. But let's just check that the general concept for this drain vaguely works. And then if it does, we'll expand it. So we're just going, we could easily get those gems. Since we have a tunnel that leads up to them. What? Why? Why do you keep depositing objects on that lever in that odd little corner? Like the lever isn't even there anymore. You just walked over there, carefully placed a llama wool cap on the ground and walked off again. I don't understand you. Right, so... And now, there is a lot of water moving around. I mean, I think this is not actually as exciting as it looks, but the water is definitely pouring out of the edge of the map there. So yes, the water goes down to like 1/7 in this corner, but it's going to take an awfully long time to drain the entire map through there. But maybe we should just be patient. It'll drain eventually. Seb asks, what are the red squares? They're smears of giant cave toad blood. So I think that means that some giant cave toad blood got into the water at some point, and now that the water's moving, it's spreading the giant cave toad blood all over the place, which is kind of unfortunate. And like there's a nice thing here, which is that we can observe that at each of the entrances there's a patch of non-moving water on the outside of our wall, and a patch and moving water on the inside of our wall, which indicates that the drainage is actually connecting up correctly and not trying to drain the entire universe. I think all the ripply things are intending to show that the water has flow, and thus if we had installed a load of water wheels, we could be getting power from this. But like, if we need power, we can do that by connecting an infinite inflow of water to one of the drains. Or to a new drain. But right now we're just trying to drain this lot slowly. That's nice. Right, so installing the additional coffer in the additional over-decorated coffer in the mayor's office has got it up to an actually acceptable standard. So I think now we should decorate the other coffer. In in a similar fashion. Right, so meanwhile our strange dwarf in a strange mood has claimed the crafts dwarf's workshop. And so far thinks that they want to make their stuff out of diorite. And leather, and has begun constructing. Excellent. I mean, not excellent in this it's a load of rubbish what they're making it out of, but I think we have a surplus of craved crocodile teeth here. And I think the reindeer calf, having starved to death, will not get butchered. I do have to ask myself how it managed to end up covered in coyote blood. I think our... Yeah, I think... Ooh, I don't know. Let's not worry about that for now. Let's... remember that we want to install a memorial to the dwarf who drowned. Oh yes, thank you, Jacob. We do indeed not have a siege on anymore. They've all cleared off. It's not like they even stopped any... All that they stopped arriving was a bunch of scholars. I could perhaps somehow explain to people that cave crocodile teeth aren't valuable. Right, so I think we've done all we can to get our chief medical dwarf cheered up by virtue of engaging in some bone crafting. So they're a member of the competitive furnaces, presumably because I didn't want them to actually do any violence, but I think we may need to change that. I think we should move them into the gloved secrets, the rough secrets, sorry. On the grounds that will improve, then we can send them out to do some work if we've got enough weapons and armour. Which might be something we actually want to investigate. Right, what else might we want to encrust this with then? All the gems are currently locked because they're all in one bin. Okay, you've made us a nice amulet. Thank you. It's quite a nice amulet. Even though you've tried to make spikes out of Yeti leather. So many cave crocodile teeth. Just put them straight in the dump. Right. So all we currently have available is amethysts and claro opals. Obviously, and oddities. Oh well, it's probably enough. Let us install that coffer in the mayor's bedroom and hope it makes her happy. No, you're meant to be... What? I'm getting confused. Okay, I think I may just... I don't know what I've just done. Let's not worry about it too much. No, you're meant to be a member of the Rough Secrets. That was what I meant. I wanted to go. Have you managed to get? I think you actually have to kill things to qualify as as practicing a martial art. So let's see how your equipment is looking. Pretty terrible. We still need some better armour for you. The competitive furnaces should not have better armour than the Rough Secrets because they're at the lowest priority. So I think since we're suffering from, well, at least since our chief medical dwarf is suffering from inadequate praying, I'm going to start setting up more temples. And have like specific temples to specific gods. To make praying easier. How's the water level doing? Still mostly 7. I think I am going to have to widen it. It's 5 over here now, so it's drying out slowly. I think we need to start digging more drains. So we need essentially 1 square, 2 squares away from the 2 squares between the existing water and the map edge, or rather 3 if you include the map edge square, in order to be able to make a drain that works. We should start right at the other edge of the map. So that does require quite a lot of digging. Not sending our under-equipped chief medical dwarf after a helmet snake. I should wait until we have some crundles and then send the useless people after the crundles. Yes, okay, that's that helmet snake dealt with. Oh dear, you've got helmet snake venom in you, have you? That's kind of bad. All being well, someone will recover you to the hospital. Or you'll recover yourself to the hospital. And then our chief medical dwarf will set to work on you. Sorry, I just love watching the medical dwarves working. It's such a complicated sequence of processes they have to deal with. Right, I think that's our injured dwarf. Lid. Kiraruka. Oh, right, it was only their arm that got injured. Yes, the individual combat drill is because I think it took a little while for the chief medical dwarf to realise that there was more work to be done on that patient. And so he briefly got distracted by going off and doing something else. And then went, oh, hang on. There's a patient still waiting for me. But yes, he cleaned, rotten tissue excised, evaluated, sutures, alpaca wool dressing. Stop getting into arguments. Or personally believes that those who sacrifice for others should be deeply respected due to being caught in a snowstorm in 167. No, I just pressed the wrong button again. Join the rough secrets for now. I don't really want to put you in the glove tundras because that's a good way to get killed. You were attacked by the dead because you revived them, you stoat. Right, let us establish over here a meeting area assigned to a new temple dedicated to Rakas. Now, our temples are all citizens only. At least give it a door, though. I think we need more bedrooms. So, about letting the water out of here then. It's going to be a fair... actually, no, the thing is that the moving water is quite a long way from the edge of the map. We could do it up here fairly easily, couldn't we? So if that's the square, it's slightly awkward. If that's the square that we channel away, then we can have... So I think we need to go... that to construct a staircase that the actual drainage will happen through. We want to get a hole there that we can then dig out the channel that actually connects it to the water from. We'll just quickly mine out that cluster of gems. I'm sure these jobs shouldn't be being rescheduled when we have no materials to work from. Oh, but of course we nominally do have a lot of wood. It's just all at the bottom of the lake. Goodness, it's 20 past midnight. Yeah, okay, I should probably have remembered that. He's still distracted after being unable to pray to Rakas. I may need to take all his duties off him so that he'll go and pray. It's like we have a whole temple to Rakas now. Right. Turn those into fortifications. And the mayor now has a great bedroom and a splendid office and a decent dining room and is thus relatively happy, probably. Well, she's certainly feeling pleasure due to being near fine containers and satisfied after conducting meetings in good settings. And she keeps finding pleasure near all of her furniture, even if she still has a bit of a lack of romance in her life. Right, so the next train is now prepared. I used the wrong kind of staircase, but that doesn't really matter. So I think now I should be able to carve a channel, dig a channel here. Stoat, no, I can't dig a channel there. That's no use at all. That connects it to the outside bit of water. I need to connect it to a different bit of water. So at least I noticed that before I dug through there. That would have been embarrassing. Meditating. You actually do have a bedroom. No, you don't. That's somebody else's bedroom. Why are you sitting in somebody else's bedroom meditating? This is not helping with, like... worried dwelling upon a lack of decent meals you can't eat. Well, I'm going to... I mean, not that you're likely to be doing much anyway, but... I'm going to temporarily take you off hauling duty so that you can... So that if you do recover, you might be able to go and pray. Which might make you better, but I'm really not sure what we can do to fix you now. On the other hand, you're immortal, so it's not like you can starve yourself to death or anything. Just I don't really have any medical staff now. I mean, it was a bit silly of me to mark the ramps down here for removal, but apparently one of them has been scheduled for removal by someone who is presumably otherwise busy. I can't find a job to remove that ramp at all. Oh, it's been removed while I was faffing around. Right, okay, so now I think if I dig a channel there, that will connect. Actually, that will connect a very ill-connected patch of water to that drain. So I'm actually going to cancel that. While I think that is worth doing. No, it wasn't that one I wanted to connect. It was eastwards from there, wasn't it? Yes. We want to channel there primarily. So, like, we may as well actually channel there as well, and then let's do these one at a time for safety's sake. Try not to allow people to fall into the water. Right, so now the water can drain out there, and now what I think we should do is enlarge that channel a bit. Also, there's a spare lever kicking around here. Let's abolish that lever. Okay, I'll need to deal with that in a moment. What? Why is there one of those in the fortress? Everyone who can even think about wielding a weapon. Is it in the air or something? Because I can't currently tag it for... Oh, I'm just confused. Oh, right, no, that's you. Right. This may not work very well, but we can try. Well, that was fairly rapid. So someone has been injected, which is a problem. I appreciate the enthusiasm of the dwarven child, who, on encountering a giant cave spider, beat it up quite vigorously. And indeed the person who turned up armed with a gem. And indeed what? Okay, none of the properly military dwarves even made it. I mean, one of them was nominally a wrestler, albeit armed with a gem. But the person who killed the giant cave spider... was Colette Altasom. Who feels vengeful when joining an existing conflict. She didn't feel anything after seeing a giant cave spider die. She is all of 2 years old and now has one giant cave spider to her name. Right, we may need to worry a little bit about our medical dwarf situation, because we've got 2 injured dwarves and no diagnoser. Oh, but our chief medical dwarf is actually busy recovering the wounded, so maybe they will be willing to help, even though they're a bit mad. He's back to only under a great deal of stress. I mean, being able to do some work is good. He is unfettered after communing with Fracas. Excellent. Building that temple helped, I think. I think we need to get him practicing a martial art, which I want to do as soon as we get some Crundles in. I'm going to do my usual watching him while he works. Actually, before I watch that, I'll go to bed once he's finished, probably. Let's have a look at... I mean, the thing is, Crundles are nice and soft, right? There's lots of lovely drainage going on over here now. So we could now dig more drains. I mean, giant cave spider poisoning is quite deadly anyway, so there's a good chance these won't survive. Means I should make more coffins. Excellent. Hope you like giant cave spiders. So you mostly just needed cleaning up and giving a crutch. Despite being injected with giant cave spider venom. So yes, I'm not sure what. Who was the other person who got injured? Was it? Fully overcome paralysis. Yeah, I think cave spider venom is less dangerous than helmet snake venom. If you survive the actual fight with the giant cave spider. Right, okay, I think that we have seen all we need for now. We've got 2 drains set up, but I think we're going to want more to get the water level down to anything vaguely reasonable. So we may do more of that next time. And in the meantime, we've got far more people than we have bedrooms, so we're going to need to dig out lots more bedrooms. But at least there is not currently a vile force of darkness sitting on our doorstep. So yes, I think that's where we are tonight. Good night, and we will see you next Friday.